returning to school. There are many concerns on both sides of this subject. How many parents will have to stay home or find a new work schedule so they can be with their children while they learn from home? And if they aren't able to be there during the online sessions, are the grandparents or babysitters capable of keeping up with schoolwork if something does happen with, let's say, technical issues? It is clear that the transition to online school has led to serious setbacks in learning in the spring, especially for students who are already at a disadvantage in the school system. For example, researchers have found that after the shift to online school, students' math progress declined by about half in schools in low-income zip codes, but not at all in schools in high-income areas. Not only is there a concern with children being set back, but on the other side of the argument, the well-being of the children, staff, and teachers. Are there protocols and proper funding to deal with situations that arise from a child getting COVID-19 in schools? How do we expect teachers to control students in large amounts with keeping distancing when adults are having trouble themselves? As we recently seen in sports, for the Florida Marlins, 11 of 33 players have been infected by COVID-19. If these adults traveling with the team are supposed to have more control than a child does, how can we expect the children to follow these strict guidelines and not expose one another? I don't think it comes down to simply opening schools or keeping them closed. I think as a community, we need to come together and find out what's to be in place so children can keep learning, socializing, and be active. It's more than just us. The children are our future, and we need to figure this out as soon as possible. The decision we make right now will affect them in the long term. Stay tuned to the FOA podcast as we talk more about the subject. How's it going, everybody? How we doing? How's everybody doing today?
Doing good, my brother.
All right, let's introduce everybody. How we start with Anselmo. How's your day going?
Hey, man, that was a killer intro right there. That monologue, you had some facts there. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
that was good.
A little bit, try to keep people informed. Dan, how's your day going?
Hi, it's going pretty good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the pod. Thank you for waiting. We appreciate it. We just had, we're still getting things together, so thank you. But my day's going good.
All right.
I'm happy you're hosting, so that's
Thank you.
Great.
After, 4 or 5 weeks that you guys have been doing, I finally did it.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm going to go with John, and then we're going to introduce our guest.
Yeah. What do you want to go with, man? I'm ready to go.
How's your day going? I mean, you ready for the subject?
Yeah, man. Let's see, man. First off, my focus is off. Hold on. Put me on the camera so y'all can check that out. So we're still dealing with a bunch of technical difficulties, but
That's
I promise
a cool, bird's eye angle, though. That's what it's called, right? Bird's eye. Yeah.
It's a Hawkeye. Hawkeye angle.
That's a good angle.
But I mean, we're gonna deal with that for a second, but I promise you we'll get it tightened a bit. But yeah, man, my day's been good. Lately though, it's been kind of crazy, guys, man. I had 2 friends pass away. It's in the 4-day span, guys.
Oh wow.
The 4-day span.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry to drop a bomb on you guys. I didn't say you guys before, but I mean, that's the truth. It's real, man. So it's been kind of a funky week.
And that's part of our podcast. We try to keep it real and on the spot. So now let's introduce our guest. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I thought you were going to be introducing me.
I'm sorry.
No, my name is Lupe Enllana, and I am a parent and a lifelong Richmond resident. I am also running for the West Contra Costa Unified School Board, District Number 2. And I'm thanking you guys for the invitation. Thank you guys for having me on.
Definitely. Thank you for coming. So let's start off with a couple facts. Or do you,
I just wanted to say that I know Lupe from the community, especially around Nystrom. I worked at Nystrom for a long time, as many of you know. I worked for like the West Contra Costa Unified School District for over 10 years, including a number of years at Nystrom. And through community events and such, I've met Lupe, so I could attest to her being active in the community for years.
Definitely. It's always a good thing,
And Lupe, really quickly, can you describe and explain to everybody what District 2 is comprised of, just in case anyone, is confused about that?
I can't say it's a square because it's not, and it's not a circle. So my district is really all over. So I always like the easiest way for me to explain it to people is someone like the freeways. Okay. So I have all of South Richmond.
Okay.
Some going into, I guess, 80 and 880 where they join. And then I have some in North Richmond, some in Park Chester. So I think it's kind of like a U.
Okay.
So it's like South Richmond, and the only place that it cuts off is in Point Richmond. So that's the only area I don't have that's into Richmond. So it's a U. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not equal. It kind of goes into like part of the middle of Richmond, and it kind of swerves, and it does all kinds of funky lines. So my best thing is I'll send you guys a link.
No, I looked at it. It's complicated.
Where you guys can actually go on there and find your address, because I wish I could say like you go all across Barrett and that's what it is, but then it's like you go into like 20 something street and then it goes up 2 blocks and then it goes diagonal 3. So it's really difficult. At least my district is. Mm-hmm. So I'll post the link, have you guys go on there, figure out your address to see.
Is that a result of gerrymandering, kind of, or?
It's because when they drew out the maps, they were really going off the census 10 years ago, and I think it has a lot to do with the minority majority. So this is called the majority African American area that I'm in, that I'm actually. So this is why they had to kind of tweak it some ways, because they had to get the numbers right or more accurate. So they had a lot of it's. If you see every map that went up to the board, each one is different. So this one was the closest to accurate. But like I said, next, maybe you guys could get involved. Next, going around after the census comes out, we'll be redistricting again. Okay. Mm-hmm. And new maps will be drawn up with the new numbers. So
how long have you been living in this district?
I lived in the district all my life.
Wow. That's important, because I've been hearing a lot of people moving around, people running for office and wanting to make sure they live in the right neighborhood so they could run for certain positions.
Well, I lived in the same area. So when I got married, I moved more into the south side of Richmond. When I got divorced, I moved back into my parents' house where I grew up. So I'm still there. Like I said, my parents have owned that residence since early 80s. Yeah. And I grew up in that house, and now I'm raising my kids in that house, and I'm still here.
That's good. That's always good. I mean, somebody who's lived in the community, helping the community, that's always a good thing. It's not an outsider coming in trying to help. So it's definitely good to hear.
Super important.
Yeah. So I wanted to hit you guys with some facts before we start. And this is given to me by Mike, who let us use this place.
He's our resident PhD mental psychologist guru.
Yeah, he knows a little bit about everything, doesn't he?
He knows a little bit about that.
Yeah. So these facts that I'm going to give you are from the CDC report and the Contra Costa Public Health Department. And I just want to give you guys these facts just so you guys know what to think, how to think, and like kind of make your decision on what we talk about today. Without knowing the facts, then you probably won't be able to have an opinion. I mean, you can have an opinion, but you'll be better informed. So one of the ones I highlighted was as of July 17th, 2020, the children and adolescents under 18 years account for under 7% of COVID cases, with less than 0.1% of COVID-19 deaths. And then extended school closures are harmful for the children, I want you guys to really talk about this today, because it affects their social and emotional skills, and a lot of people haven't been talking about that, you know. Also their mental health, you know, all that goes into consideration when you want to talk about students returning to school. And there's a couple more facts that he wrote down here. Let's go to disability. For children with intellectual and physical disabilities, nearly all therapies and services are received through the school. So, I mean, that's something that they're not receiving right now. So, I mean, you got to take those things in consideration, as, you know, the stuff that we just don't think about besides just returning to school. It's more than just that. And those are the kind of topics we want to hit today. You guys have anything to say about those facts or anything else that you guys has researched?
Man, I was thinking what you said about the social and emotional aspect of how COVID's impacting the young people. I think that's super a great point. Many people aren't talking about that. And I know even myself, you know, being separated from my family for so long, I haven't been, my mom didn't let me over the house to use the bathroom. If she's watching right now, I dropped off some groceries and needed to use the bathroom. She didn't even let me in the house. Can you believe that? So look, for young people, they don't get to see their friends. They don't get to see other family members that they may be close with, maybe their grandma who may be higher risk. That's hard. It's hard for an adult, so you can imagine a child.
Yeah. And then you also have to, just getting into what you just said, Anselmo, I think we also have to think about the multi-generational homes. I mean, I'm glad that you have a place where you can actually, you know, seclude yourself and make sure that your family stays healthy. But then what happens, you know, with the multi-generational homes? You know, a couple weeks ago, my son, you know, came back from college. He doesn't want to be locked up in a house, has a job. He works at, I won't say the name because I'm not going to advertise.
Unless they want to sponsor us. They don't want to sponsor us.
Tell them to reach out.
Reach out, you know. And somebody came down with COVID at his job. You know, he had to get tested. The testing was, you know, I want to say it took over a week for us to get his results. His girlfriend, we got those back within 3 days. So I had to have another person living in my house for the safety of her home. And then he came back positive. And that was like, what now? Yeah. You know, I have other younger kids at home. You know, we have a family at home. You know, my parents live in the house adjacent to us. Yeah. So it's like even having to figure those things out. Like I couldn't just throw him out and say, you can't come in the house and use, you know, use it outside. So we had to really figure out, you know, what the next steps were when it comes. And I think we talk a lot about, you know, getting tested. We talk about a lot of, you know, finding out if we're, you know, if we're carrying COVID. But we're not informing a lot of the community what happens after COVID. And I know we have to take our precautions, but, you know, thankfully he made it out of the quarantine. You know, we went and rechecked last week. We got our test results back Monday. Everybody in my house was negative. But we took those precautions, you know, to be able to stay safe within the same household. So I think, you know, that's something that we also have to address at some point. You know, how do we work after the positive test results? You know, we can't just put our family members out on the street and say, you know, you're on your own.
Yeah, definitely.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's one thing that I got from that is being proactive. You know, her family, like you said, you were on top of everything, making sure everybody's secluded in one area, not, you know, going, like you said, her family and spreading it out. And I think like our pre-interview, what we did, he was saying the same thing, that, you know, they traced it in Vietnam, right? Correct. So kind of just keeping people together is one of the things, being proactive. But I have another fact that about Contra Costa. So the total of deaths from the COVID in Contra Costa County has been 105, right? There were, no one in Contra Costa under the age of 30 has died due to the COVID-19. And the majority of the due to COVID were in persons of ages over 60. So since we're talking about schools, elementary schools, I mean, I think that's an important fact and statistic that we need to take into consideration when we talk about kids returning to school.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, for me, it's like this. My opinion is, safety is number one, right? Yes. That's physical and emotional safety, and I definitely feel as though, as a outsider looking in, meaning I don't have a child in school, or a child at all, it's easier for me to say, you know what, shut the schools down. Nobody goes to school until everybody's safe, you know. But then at the same time, you got to imagine all the other impacts that can cause for a family. Parents may not have work. Kids don't have school, all because of this pandemic, right? And so I think you got to weigh out everything that's going on, and you can't just jump to a super quick conclusion.
Yeah. Well, back to the whole emotional part of it. I kind of want to ask John a question.
Shoot.
John, since I've always known him, he's always been a social butterfly.
Oh,
he talks to people. I mean, that's part of his upbringing, I'm sure. Yeah. Like the last week's podcast, he just remembers everything from high school. I mean, important part of his life, right? So I just kind of want to ask him, what type of therapy should we offer kids, or what can we offer kids so they have this emotional support, all the mental health issues, to kind of help them go through this whole COVID time that's, it's unique to us.
All right, well, I'm going to try to break it down as best I can. First, I want to thank you for that question, Mr. Lopez. And, God bless America and all that good stuff. We're not going to get political. I'm sorry. So when I was younger, I didn't break out of my shell until maybe my sophomore year. The way I thought and the way I thought about things and the way I thought about myself started to change. And so the balance begun, and what I thought was cool and what other people thought was cool. And I was trying to appeal to both of those spectrums, right? So in high school, that balancing act was very misbalanced. But throughout learning social skills and finding a niche, I'm an overall happier person. That was a developmental milestone. So I did some research, and I tried to tackle it sort of with my own experiences, and also wanted to figure out why it was that they concluded recommendations. So I just tried to tie in what I went through and what they recommended. I want to start with what I think social distancing affects at a high school stage first. Okay. Because I think it's what kids carry a little longer, especially going to college and then completely getting their mind blown. So one, if not the most obvious effects that social distancing can have on kids ages 15 through 18 through some research is their physical attraction to one another. So at this age, their curiosity starts to spike. Now, if you're a dad, I'm pretty sure you're all about social distancing, right? You don't want nobody touching you, right? But nonetheless, it still affects both genders. So let's get a little deeper on that. Since our hormones are kind of all over the place at that age, we try our best to make sense of it all. We make a bunch of mistakes and we learn from them, right? So we learn how to court or woo a girl. As a young man, you learn what to say in certain situations, when to lean in for a kiss, how respectful you should be to another when in that dating stage, right? Teens have a deeper capacity for caring and sharing, and for the development for more intimate relationships, right? So you start to get more intimate with, it may be romantically, or it may be with a friend or with a colleague. Intimate doesn't necessarily mean hugging, kissing, and stuff like that. It just means more in depth, So most figure out how great it is, to be liked by the opposite sex or the same sex. One of the things I learned is how much another person can teach you and influence you. Right. And I know it's possible for it to be platonic between friends, but it's way different, with somebody you're romantically involved with. And this all has to do with social distancing, just so I don't lose everybody. Right. So the effects of not being able to physically interact with people has a great deal with effect. And then I'll tie it all back to, how it can affect a child, and how therapy could help with all that, which is what you asked, right? Yes. All right. So at ages 15 to 18, teens may have concerns with their body, right? So with their weight and their size, many teens get to working out more, eat healthier, exercise, and sports are definitely on top of their list, right? So social distancing, obviously, there's a lot of sports that you can't do. So picking up on social cues, developing humor, right? So a lot of humor, at least that we had back in the day, had a lot of physicality, a lot of touching, like, hey, what's going on, or whatever, like you go big goof, and stuff like that are all developed physically, Now at a younger age, physical interaction from people like family and friends is mad important. Giving or getting hugs and kisses or having the reassurance of physical security is something embedded into our DNA. At a young age, a sense of community is massively important. This dates back to prehistoric times. Physical interaction stimulates the brain and it stimulates much more, if you know what I'm talking about. Exploring for a kid, crazy, right? You touching everything as a kid, right? So we're talking about even at earlier ages. Exploring is a huge thing. Exploring with a buddy is crazy fun. A couple of kids can grab 2 sticks, beat each other up with the stick, use it for hiking, throw it in a pond, things like that they're missing on. And I do want to make note that this is just for the time being. So, and I'll get to that in a second as well. And what I found interesting is that social distancing, obviously, we need to stay apart from each other. But in early years, teaching a kid about boundaries can be taught almost primarily by them breaching those boundaries, right? So they have to sort of break, sort of touch people and touch things for you to be like, no, that's not cool. You can't do that. So, with a whole school year or a year, that's of course you're going to have a lot of time to make up for it, but, that's a whole year or school year. So when it comes to therapy for kids and helping them deal and understand with all this, I'm all for it, right? In every single thing, not just this. Therapy is something that is very near and dear to me, and I feel it's underutilized, and it disturbs me that it's not readily available like a lot of other things. I can go into this for a whole complete hour about alone, right? How therapy, I think, is crazy important. I'm already taking a bunch of time, but I wanted to get a message out there, and I wanted to be clear of where I stand. But there's a ton of things that therapy can help with. This is one of them, obviously. Kids at a very young age, I don't think is as necessary. I think that they're just kids, and they're probably they won't even remember this all happened, to be completely 100 with you, so I think it's a case by case thing, but therapy in any situation I think is very underutilized. But there's a ton of my friends that I think are sort of on a borderline with all this. I don't want to use I intentionally did not use any statistics because I'm sure that a parent doesn't care what age their babies are. They're going to do whatever they can to keep their baby safe and healthy, point blank, period. They don't care if they're under 30. I know that statistically there has been no deaths in Contra Costa. But I'm pretty sure if I go ask my auntie or my mom, right? I'm 32, 33 in about 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure my mom will still trip out if I'm not wearing a mask and stuff like that. So they don't care. So I intentionally avoided using any statistics. But nonetheless, we do have to take that into consideration. And everything I stated was because not having any kind of physical interaction, not having your kids around kids does impact the kids' mental and physical health and development much more than you can think. So obviously pros and cons there. I wanted to focus on sort of the pros of having kids back into school because I'm leaning towards that way, just because of the numbers. I didn't want to put anything out there, but I'm in the same boat as Insemo. Yeah. I don't have any kids, so I'm speaking from essentially the outside looking in. So I mean, if you guys want to hear something funny to lighten that up, what kids are doing right now with the whole mask and everything, they're dressing up like old people and they're going to buy alcohol.
With masks on? Yeah. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, so they're putting masks on. It's hilarious. You guys check it out like on YouTube and stuff, or not YouTube. I think it's just
We're
search
not
it.
condoning that.
No, definitely not. No, but
I do not condone it.
We do not condone that, but we're highlighting.
And we have a brand new outro
Yeah.
that states that everything
Hey.
we say here.
No, but I could tell by what you're talking about is very near and dear to you. So I appreciate you sharing and opening up deep and talking about that. And also, there are some viewers right now commenting about how social and emotional resources aren't available for their children, and how, especially in low-income neighborhoods, they don't have a lot of these type of resources available. And so I think that it's important that we talk about it, normalize it, make it a normal thing that people think is okay to say, you know what, I'm feeling depressed or I'm not feeling okay. I think that's important, just as important as it is to talk about other type of issues in the community, that we really need to normalize that. So thank you for sharing that, John.
Yeah, I think we talked about that when I told you that I was going through sort of a thing like that, and you said, I feel bad as a friend that I didn't reach out, but at the same time, it sort of falls in that same stigma where it's my fault as well, where I didn't reach out and I didn't make it known. So
50-50.
having more resources,
We'll split it.
We'll split that one, right?
We'll split the baby.
Yeah.
But I think having resources and stuff out there more clear would make people a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why I gave you that question is because we've talked about this before, maybe about a year and a half ago, and you just telling me things that, as far as like you were going through things, and then you after you reached out to me, like we talked, and then just from that you learn, speaking to people, and then that's something we need to teach the children. We don't, like they said on the comments, we don't have many resources, but as far as us have gone through it, us in our 25 and older, 30, anybody with kids needs to, like you said in some, show the next generation that it's okay to talk about these things. I think that's one of the hardest things coming around this area, that people are afraid to speak their minds or what's on their mind, and it just builds up. Most people, when they hold things in, they break later on. So
And, my perspective, the Latin community is that way, but I'd love to hear from some of the women we have in here how they feel about it. Because we heard the men's perspective. I want to hear some of the women.
I know I'm kind of long-winded. So
I think a lot of it is, culturally. Culturally, sometimes we're not, as growing up in a Latino family, like those are not things you talk about. I have 4 boys. Having 4 boys, I've had to navigate the masculine mind, I want to say, and kind of check them, on certain things all the time, because they all range. So my oldest is 23. I have a 19-year-old, a 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old. They're all they range in ages. So definitely. They all have different ways, temperaments, different ways of acting. I have the one that's tough guy, ain't nothing gonna face him. He's down. You don't see him, no emotions, no nothing. And then I have one that's more emotional. He feels things, and he shows it. Like I walk in a room and I'm like, what's wrong? And nothing. No, there's something wrong. I capture it right away. And even teaching my boys, at the time, like it's okay, to cry. It's okay to like talk to people, because we teach our boys not to cry. We desensitize them from early on. When it comes to like when they're little, it's like don't cry because you're not a girl, and it's like, hold on, like I'm a badass girl, don't you want to be like me?
And people they literally say that.
And it's like, why do you see it as a bad thing? It's like, I think we have to change how we talk to our kids and really have open conversations. But some of our, I can't say the same thing for my mom. So some people grew up differently. So I think it does start with us. Like you said, it starts with us leading by example. It starts with us having the conversations that other people are willing to have, and actually showing them. So, a lot of my thing has always been bringing men together, and Selma, I think you were part of the men's group that we brought together, a while ago, because it was like I really wanted kids to be able to have influence over men in the community, but men that can actually come in and show, with some frame of thought that you can be sensitive, you can, be overachieving, we can have, the younger ones with the older ones, and, we can coexist. And I think it has to move by example. It has to lead by example. And, we can't do it. Like, sometimes we wait to be handed everything. Like you said, we don't have the resources here. Well, we're our own resource. Like, let's figure it out. And I'm always one of those proactive ones that is like, don't tell me what I can do, because I'm just going to figure it out. Yeah. Whether it's, calling in someone, but I think we have to be able to support our community until the support starts, flooding in. And if we wait for it to happen, then we're just going to, be complaining.
Lupe, could I have you just pull up the mic just a little bit higher? And
that's what moving forward is all about, because the community supporting the community. But, I just set a goal. You know what my new goal is? After hearing that, what I got to do? I got to cry at least in one of these podcast episodes.
Bro.
That's it. Don't mark my words.
Hey, don't threaten me with a good time,
bro. All right, okay.
I'm telling you, I'll tell you one thing, bro. Make no mistake, I watched the Hallmark Christmas movie last night. I'm trying to tell you, bro. I got all the tricks under my sleeve. I will make you. I'm all right. I'm gonna make you ball, bro.
Moving forward, breaking barriers, crying on podcasts.
You're letting them know it's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's good. Like, we're allowed to cry. I can sit here and I'm a crybaby. Like, everything makes me cry.
Yeah, exactly.
I cry from frustration. I cry from happiness. I cry.
You're
to
crying.
Lupe's point, that is true. I personally, I feel like, if anything, the person that's more willing to show their emotions, they're the stronger one, because they're not scared to show you how they feel, versus someone that, is acting all manly, someone that's acting all macho. Like, they're really scared to show you your feelings. They're scared to, like, be vulnerable. So if anything, at least personally, I feel like it's weaker to mask your feelings. So I think Lupe brought up a great point. And personally, when it comes to, mental health and COVID, it definitely, I feel like not kids, because I'm close to that age range.
Wait, close to the kid age range?
No, not like the young adult.
I was gonna say,
I'm a young adult, but the younger adults, like 18 to like 24, they have it extra hard in terms of appearance, because they have like that pressure of social media, So they looked at it a lot before, but now it's like tenfold, because you can't go out anywhere, you can't do anything. There's really no social interaction. So what are you doing? Constantly comparing yourself. You're constantly like just putting other people on a pedestal, and I think that's horrible for mental health, honestly. But that's just my point of view.
And I think it's good that you just addressed that, because I think with us as females, sometimes we carry a lot of weight. I remember, the second week into this COVID, like, I felt like I was gonna break. Yeah. And I probably came really close to it, because it's like I'm so used to being that one that's really social. Like, I'm in Anselmo, like he said, we're doing things out in the community. I love to be active, really active. Yeah. So when it was like everybody had to shut down, I didn't know what to do with myself. Yeah. Like, it really became like, how do I balance, what am I good for? I can't do anything from, my home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it poured over into my kids, because then it came like, I can't be out there demanding stuff. Now I have to teach my kids, and I don't even feel good. So how am I supposed to teach them? And they don't want to do this. So it's just that trickle down effect of how, sometimes we as the head of the households have to deal with it a lot. Yeah. And then still not being able to show our emotions. Like, I had I had people reaching out saying, what's wrong with you? Like, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there. And it's like, I can't. Like, leave me alone.
And just to piggyback off of that, doing this podcast gives me personally an opportunity to be interactive and socialize with some people in some form. So I've definitely been a little bit more active, I think, on social media and stuff, and trying to use social media as a way to continue my work in the community, because obviously there's been restrictions on people gathering, social gatherings and stuff, and so this is how we've been able to do something still.
Yeah, and just to finish off that, I want to say, if you think about this, the kids have been out of school for about 5 months, or will go on 5 months. Man. And let's say, as you as an adult drink coffee and you stay inside the house, you'll lose your mind. These kids have a lot of energy just built up, and they're not being able to use it, Yeah. But in the high school level, we were talking about emotions, mental health. These kids who play sports, when you play sports, your coaches, the frustration, all the hard work that you put in where you're close to breaking, it helps you grow and go to the next level as far as like adulthood. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that we definitely need to take in consideration, you know, when we think about kids going back to school.
Yeah, and then with the sports and everything, you have, or at least for me, I played sport. G played sports. Diana plays baseball in Durango. Obviously, she has the baseball shirt.
Represent.
Tomo played basketball. Bro, you have a lot of pent up energy that you just release, or after a run. You can do it after a run, but it's not the same. And you lose that physical, that competitive drive. I think that is so important now that we're losing. I think, everybody gets a medal. Okay, I get it, how we want to include everybody.
Hey,
but
5K, everybody gets a medal. Come on. Sign up for the 5K.
Right? But as a kid, man, it pushed me so much to try to get that first place, and it teaches you that as well, right?
That's
and
true.
that's something that physical sports, or being physical within your sport, we're losing a bit.
But,
Pre-COVID and COVID.
Can I be honest with you guys?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
definitely.
If I was a kid,
You
to
are.
be honest with you, when I was a kid, I imagine if I was a kid, I would be happy to not be going back to school.
Oh,
And that's the honest truth. I'd be on vacation, and I probably wouldn't have much restriction, and I would appreciate that. And I'd be running around getting even more exercise because I'd be out there playing basketball, doing whatever I wanted to.
But that's the thing. You in the summertime, I'm sure you were out playing sports, going out there. These kids aren't doing that right now. They're at home.
A lot of
generation.
kids aren't. That's true.
If you go to these parks, they're closed. There's not many people out there, so you won't be like we're talking about. You're not going to be able to express that. I mean, not express it, but let that energy out. You know what I mean?
I probably would have been in somebody's backyard boxing,
Bro, you
boxing.
doing something.
It's something
Fighting.
but that's
Crying
something that's not
Hallmark
even,
movies.
the same. I think, I have my two young, well, they've all played sports, but my two younger ones, they play competitive soccer since they were 4, and this has been their life. And right now we're not in that season. So you see, like you said, the emotional toll. I think with my 8-year-old, him not being at school has really been a struggle for me. He was that model student at school, and he's the one that would always say in school, like, I have to set the example. So he was like so opposite to what he's at home.
Yeah.
Like there, he was that golden child that all the teachers liked. He followed directions. He did everything he was to do because he's gonna lead by example.
Yeah, and that's something like as you get older, leadership. I mean, you learn those type of skills in school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to ask Diana a question. Being a college graduate, how do you feel about the seniors having to go into their last year of school with restrictions, no winter sports as of right now, at least in Contra Costa, and a lack of social events that many look forward to during their senior year? How will this affect them going into college next year?
So, that kind of. Okay, is this working now? All right.
Definitely.
So that kind of makes me empathize with high school students in particular because they're missing out on prom, they're missing out on like senior ditch day, on cheerleading, basketball, whatever the case is. They're missing out on those key events, and it's like that when you're a rising senior or a graduating senior, like what else do you really have to look forward to? What's your motivation for being in school, really? So that makes me empathize with them because I at least was fortunate enough, and like my peers here, they're fortunate enough to not go through a pandemic and have access to those things. But yeah, I just think it lowers morale, and then it pretty much just dilutes the overall experience. And then in turn with the teachers, there's like a whole lot of extra prep work. It's like getting them ready for school. How are you going to meet them for office hours? How are you going to meet them for the prep period? They always have to be online, so I think it's kind of unfortunate. But at the same time, I do understand the long-term effects that comes with not putting any social distancing measures in place. So I do feel like it's important, at least until like a vaccine is inevitable. They've already contracted people to start doing a vaccine in December. Who knows? I mean, it's on phase 3. Who knows if it's going to go on full force officially by the end of the year. But just like to give a glimmer of hope, it is temporary. So it's unfortunate, like I said, I'm reiterate, unfortunate for seniors this year, but it's necessary. You know, there's like a bigger picture involved. This is so they can enjoy their college years going forward. So that's basically what I had to say on that.
I think that's important you said that, because, you know, I always push to have different stakeholders, you know, in the different meetings that I sit in. And, you know, I'm there. You know, I was once young, not there anymore. And it's like, you know, what I thought was okay back then is not necessarily what I think is okay now as a parent. Like, I'm continuously checking my kids like, oh, but no, we're not talking about me, we're talking about you, I'm the parent now. So it's like, really, you know, I come, you know, to these tables with my parent lens on, you know, what my priorities as a parent are. And, you know, my priorities are to make sure that my kids are safe. You know, a year of school to me seems like a year lost, a year you can make up. You know, those are my priorities. My priorities are to make sure that they're safe, that we're keeping other children safe. You know, socially and emotionally, that we're thinking of how do we support the kids during this transition, because I've struggled. And, you know, hearing you speak and saying, you know, but this is what's important to us, you know, we have to find that middle ground. But I don't think that we're able to find that middle ground with me and a whole bunch of administrators in a room. Because what's important to us, and I always say that, you know, people make decisions based on what's important to them. You know, we have teachers at the table that are going to look out for teachers, you know, to make sure that, you know, they're established and that they get the resources they need. You know, we have administrators there that their job is to, you know, be administrative. But when it comes to, like, our children, like, who's looking out for them? You know, who's really sitting at the table to be able to address the concerns we have as parents and as students. And I think I do it really good for the parents. Like, you know, I have parents sit down and say, I agree with you, but let me not have this conversation with my child, because then he's sitting there saying, but you don't know. And, you know, I have one that had to come home his first year of college. And he's saying, but like, Mom, I loved living, you know, by myself. I didn't get that full experience. And it's like, but you'll get it, you know, sooner or later, you know, good thing you're safe. And I think that's important, that, you know, we have that point of view, because we have to find that middle ground. I think that's really important. Somebody dropped a comment in here. I just wanted to share it because I thought it was really important. It says, it affected my daughter's track season. She was blessed to be fast enough her junior year to get a full ride for college.
Ooh,
so you can imagine someone that's a competitive track runner that's looking for that scholarship.
To you.
What about the people who were on the brink of earning that scholarship and maybe worked hard, you know, and they were getting ready to go in their senior year and smash some records.
Might be the breakout year.
They may be missing out on that. But I wanted to, before we switch gears, give a couple of shout outs. Those of you who don't know or haven't signed up yet, we have the We Run Richmond 5K coming up August 9th. If you haven't signed up yet, you could go and check out our link in our bio, or go to www.movingforward510.org and you can sign up. It's virtual, so you can run wherever you're at. Even if you're across the country, you can sign up and still represent Richmond, and we'll get our shirt and finishers medal. Everyone gets a medal. Everyone gets a medal. Nothing wrong with it. Sign up. East Bay Judo Institute, that's one of our sponsors. They helped us out with putting together this event. And also Totec Remodeling Construction. That's another business I wanted to give a shout out to. They're helping us give scholarships to youth in our community, the community of Richmond, the greater Richmond community. We want to make sure that us as a community also does or puts in some work to be able to contribute in a great way. And so it takes the community to come together, put these scholarships together, and help young leaders from our community pursue a higher education.
And I want to give a shout out to the clothing company. This is for my coworkers. They go by Lady Bruh. Who is Lady Bruh? An up-and-coming clothing brand representing the LGBTQ community, ran by an all-black female crew. Lady Bruh is not just aimed toward the LGBTQ community, but for everyone to wear and embrace their individuality. You can find them on Instagram at Lady Bruh Clothing. So go follow and DM for any purchases. And thanks, and keep supporting Black-owned businesses as well.
I love that name.
Yeah, me too. Very catchy.
That's clean. That's catchy.
I remember when they told me about it. I mean, I was like, you guys better run with this. I mean, it was so shout out to them.
All right. Nice. So I want to give a shout out to La Sagrada Familia, which has graciously given us the space again, or lended the space again. Mike, I know that you put hello there. I'm sorry to get to you so late. Pero si necesitan un lugar, bueno, por ahorita no, ¿verdad? Porque todo está cerrado. Un lugar, una iglesia que diga, que es mayormente latina. El local es, la dirección es, excuse me, I'm stumbling over my Spanish words here. Es 600 South 16th Street, in Richmond, California. Any questions at all? And then also, Giselle, community cleaned up this Saturday.
Sunday. Fake news. Listening to the fact. Listen, you heard it here first. Sunday, Giselle, we got to talk.
We can't. So you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I'm telling you guys. I'm just, she put LOL. So
Shout out Giselle. She's helping organize the event. So yeah.
And shout out Marco.
Yeah. Marco. That's the dynamic duo right there.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
Awesome family.
Multi-talented too.
Everything, yeah. Shout out
goals.
to them.
Family goals, dude.
Family goals.
Very involved in the community, always involved in helping moving forward. So shout out to them for sure.
Man, I gotta just go ahead and say, man, I don't know if you guys heard Marco. He's so humble, but he got accepted to Cal Berkeley, right?
What?
Wow.
Yes, we heard that. I heard that.
Shit.
I follow them on
I don't want to put him on the spot.
Wow.
Not only that, but most of you know that Giselle just graduated from Cal.
Oh, okay, so we got some California bears all up in our ear.
Oh my
All
God,
up in
that's
the air.
amazing.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist that.
The producer himself, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So,
so cool.
you guys want to keep going back on these questions? I got a
Man,
couple
I
questions.
gotta go.
Yeah, we do gotta go, but I just wanted to tell you. It's almost time. We could talk all night. We know how that goes. But we've been talking about the kids. But what about the staff?
Yeah.
Especially some of those people may be in that age group that's more at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have some facts here. Let me go ahead and pull that up because I know Mike did some research. Mike, once again, is our resident PhD doc of mental psychology, and my slow computer is not working.
But obviously you need adults in the room to teach the kids, and some of them are going to be older, so it's not going to be kids teaching the kids. So everyone's not going to be at the lower risk group in the classroom. Yeah. And so and my experience working at a school for over 10 years, kids, like we said earlier, are hands-on, and so it's easy for a cough or cold to get passed around a classroom. So you could imagine if you're a over 50 or over 60-year-old teacher in a classroom, which plenty of them could go to that age group, you're at risk. You think I wouldn't want to jump into front of a classroom with 30 kids right away.
Yeah.
But I think you have to also think about, where do we put these teachers?
Yeah.
We're talking about the older age group, and I'm always thinking how awesome some of our older teachers are. Because they're really hands-on with their kids. They stay away from all the electronic that most of the younger teachers do. Mm-hmm. So even right now, distant learning is a struggle for them. Mm-hmm. Some don't even know how to, send a Word document, So it's like we have to look at, how can we use these teachers as really support sectors, to be able to, keep on getting the best possible out of them, because it's like we can't just discard them and say you're not useful in a classroom because of your age, or you're not useful online because you're not tech savvy. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to really come up with a plan that's gonna be the best plan that we could actually come up with, and maybe they fall into a place where they could be the ones doing the resource that support and I think we're not there yet. I'm very disappointed we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake. There's a lot of work to be done, right? So this is obviously something that we want to talk about to touch upon that. So that's all I had to say.
Quick question before Lupe leaves: can you kind of just give us a rundown of your platform and why you felt it was important, to run for this position in the first place?
Well, so what made me run for this position? I think that a lot of times, we've had a conversation with Anselmo and with others on. Why I need to run. I think I need to run because we really have to make sure that the community voice, parent voice, student voice is actually being uplifted on that board. we have to look, I look at the board when I look at it, as a puzzle. We need to have various puzzle pieces with various, various things that they bring to the table to be able to be successful. Like, we can't have 5 lawyers on the school board because, their direction is going to be way different than what we need as parents. We have teachers there, we have lawyers there, we need to uplift, the community voice. And I think our community has, really been lack a lot of support, and we have really struggled to where I think we need to start uplifting that. We need to start, saying we are team players. We need to be sitting at these tables, making the decisions as well. I'm not running because I have a PhD. I wish I did. I don't. I graduated from Contra Costa. Didn't have the support. But I'm not. That's not what I'm selling. I'm selling, really authentically representing the voice of the parents, the community, and the needs that the students have. As a parent, I have needs that have not been addressed. As students, my kids have needs that are not being addressed. And I think we need to really emphasize that we need to work in partnerships to build these plans out. Because until we have, really big connections and partnerships with the district and with the people making these decisions, then we're always going to be given, the leftovers to things. And we're never going to be taken, seriously. So, my wanting to run is because I want to amplify that voice, but I also want other people to, see that, I threw myself in, and hopefully the next time around, we have other people from the community, really going out there and advocating for their kids and for the kids of the community in general, to every place possible, like every committee, every, place they could put themselves in. We need to take position, and we need to, honor that space with our presence and our voice. And like I said, one of my platforms is working on, I'm really excited. I really want to get a community schools model in that does bring into the, the schools, not just education, but how do we support the community as well? Because I think if we were really focusing in on community school models where there's services offered at the schools, when it comes to like not just how can we keep this child safe and sound and emotionally, but focus really in on, their families, the people around them. Right now during COVID, we would have a hub to go to where we could actually know that there was resources given them, and we could tap into that, because there's a lot of people, there's resources in Richmond, but there's a lot of people that we're not connecting with. The people that really need these resources, the people that really need the money, that really need the support, we can't connect with them because everything's done right now, online. So it's like if we had this space where, we actually were partnering up with the community, regardless of what, what was happening around us, we know that this is a space where we can actually come and get the services that we need. So I think really moving in the direction of community schools model into our most needed, areas, that's going to be the win for our community. And I think we really need to push, like I said, community coming into the schools, community being part of every movement to, be able to support our students.
Yeah, I think you hit that on the nose. Just to take it back, I think this topic was more than just closing and opening schools. I think it's, like I said, the community coming together, like in Samo, and moving forward. I mean, you guys are a part of the community, helping out, getting involved, giving out scholarships, and I think that's important. Like Lupe hit on all those subjects. Being involved, not just hearing the voices from people on certain positions, but actually from the parents speaking up. Us who speak English, we didn't have, most of us were here second generation, first generation, so we didn't have our parents able to speak up. So we speak English, so we should be able to go out there and speak for our children who don't have a choice.
Man, I think that's spot on, man, and I feel like that's exactly what we're doing with moving forward. It's like we're not waiting for someone else to do for us. We're doing for ourselves. The community's coming together and putting together scholarships for our community, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. Don't leave for tomorrow what can be done today.
Definitely.
Today.
You were getting a lot of applause and stuff in the comments while you were speaking.
Getting some love over here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's see. Nice mask by Boogie Boy. Shout out Boogie Boy. Yeah, guys, that was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was really
Thank
dope.
you for, you know, sharing your platform and for your time today. We really appreciate it. And it's an important topic that I think everyone should be aware of, you know.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Like I said, I'm, you know, always willing to come in and support, you know.
So
You know, really be, I think really building on the community. And I think we have to like really, you know, bounce things off of each other. You know, I want the guru's card too, because I want to see who you're talking about. You're a guru that knows everything.
Oh no, we keep him. Yeah, we keep him locked away because he's just our person. No, he's here most of the time, but he came here last time. But
no, but
yes,
I think, you
just
know,
wanna-
really, you know, we need to, you know, do this together. And I think that's, you know, the whole thing that, you know, we have to come together as younger adults and older. I don't consider myself yet that old of an adult. But, you know, I'm there, and I think, you know, this is how it starts. You know, we really need to support each other, I think, with the work that we're doing independently, more as community members, because, you know, we have to take pride in ownership. You know, that's what brought me to the work with Anselmo, like really focusing in on having the community come take part and pride in ownership. Like when you get stuff done on your own, then you're really going to value it more. You know, you're going to see the sacrifice in it and really give back, because, you know, we're making each other whole. So, you know, I appreciate for the invitation. I'm always down to come chat. You know, it was great.
It's our pleasure.
To be here.
tell people where they can reach you.
So, you guys can reach me on Lupe Enllana for school board on Facebook. Go like my page. My campaign page should be up in a couple of days, but I'm always accepting, you know, friends on my personal Facebook too, as Guadalupe Enllana Avalos. And I'm also taking donations for my campaign. There's donations links up on my page, or through Venmo and Cash App.
Venmo?
Venmo and
Venmo.
Oh, I heard you say Bevmo. I was like, dang.
Always lighting up the mood, huh?
What kind of campaign you running over here?
People underestimate how important money is when it comes to running a campaign.
It's everything.
It's everything.
And I always say, you know, every dollar counts. You know, I think we every dollar is gonna get me closer to, you know, getting where I need to be, because I can have the best platform out there, but I think if, you know, I don't have the funds to support it, then that's, you know, always that big wall that we're like coming up against, because, you know, we're not. You know, I don't have $50,000 to put in my own account, you know?
Exactly.
And so I think we really have to do this. You know, part of my platform is, you know, if I'm going to do this, we're going to do this together. And we're going to be at the finish line together, you know, making this our win. Because I can't do it without the community support. And I can't do it without you guys. So, you know, go to my page, donate $1, you know. If I have 1,000 friends on Facebook, like I was doing those calculations, you know, if everybody gives $2, you know.
Yeah. And since you being our guest, we're going to go ahead and see if we can put all this information at the bottom of the description of the YouTube. We'll do that. And that way they can go ahead. I mean, you said she was getting a bunch of claps and stuff, you know. If you guys want to do more than claps, just go ahead and look at the details. We're going to put all her information on there so we can help her out.
Yep. But thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. I know we started a few minutes late this time, but don't worry, we're gonna get it figured out. We gotta get the technical difficulties all together, but we're working on it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, and we got a brand new outro, guys.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so let's see what it's all about. Check it out, guys. Gotta hit that transition.